Hello, hello, my collective ship family. This is Leon, the Metaverse Explorer. I'm back again with Taylor from the Imperial Wealth. Taylor, we're going to be talking about mining today. We've got a few other topics today, but please tell me, how are you doing today?
I'm pretty good considering how, the data came out last night. So all things considered, I'm in a pretty good mood.
That's right, yeah. So even over the weekend, we've had lots of talk about the banking crisis that's happening now. It's CPI data, I think that's what you're referring to, coming out.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So I've got to get updated on all of this. But for now, I would like to talk about mining in Bitcoin, right? And this is where you're coming into here. So first off, let's talk about the last month of February. What's happened in February from your perspective? What's happened at Imperial Wealth? How have the mining machines been going?
Yeah, good. Yeah, everything's been running really well. We've been in a really fortunate position that we've had obviously extremely limited downtime. Our facility is obviously heavily renewable based, which gives us a bit of a leg up. We've got a new US facility in Kansas coming online in the next 4 weeks that's got a few more hydro containers. So those are the 198 terahash hydro machines from Bitmain.
Right.
So a little bit unique, giving us another offering to clients for a pretty good price. So it's pretty good time to be in mining. I'll put it that way. With cheaper hash rate, consistent energy, there's no bad times at the moment.
Can you elaborate on the hydro machines a little bit more from Bitmain? So I imagine they are machines submerged in water. The water is probably they're not submerged.
No, so these are different in the sense of your usual immersion machines, which are obviously submerged in oil. These are what's called a water cooled hash board. Okay, right. So in the sense of your usual miner that pumps in air through its fan, this has water connected and has your traditional hash board sitting parallel.
Yeah.
You then have a casing on top of it that cools water running through it.
So
it cools in a more efficient manner, allowing them to run at a much higher rate. So these are generally 170 terahash and above. There's sort of two premier models that we muck around with, which is the 198 terahash and then the 250s. They are sort of higher energy rating at sort of that 5,000 plus watts, but they are a lot easier to maintain. The rating in the sense of their reliability is really good, being that there is no stress on the machine in the sense of it air cooled, fluctuating pressures, fans, all that sort of stuff. So we're going to have 3 containers of these going now. We've had one going for, better part of 6 months, I'd say. And have really positive results. So it's something we're going to expand with quite heavily over the next 12, 24 months.
Oh, amazing. And can you elaborate more on the regulation or the journey to get those machines over there? Was it difficult having to deal with the state itself?
Yes and no. We're really fortunate that we've got a really strong relationship with Bitmain, as well as the facility that we're involved with. So, and we've done a lot of work with Merkle Standard and other facilities like that have done very extensive work with these. They've got 20 containers of these. So, really good that we've been able to rely on others for guidance. In the sense of getting things there, it's been a tricky period with getting things set up.
Right.
So it's not as simple as just having a container, dropping it and plugging it in. There is water towers, there's gas lines, water lines, pressure valves. There's lots of working parts that go with it. So it's a little bit more complex in that, but once it's all set up and the lines and the installation's done, it's off to the races. So it's on the final leg, which is always a good thing.
Oh, that's awesome. And these are available to some of your clients in Imperial Wealth?
Yeah, we've still got roughly sort of about 50 left at the moment. So there's not a huge amount of them, but at the same point, we are probably going to be securing more going forward. But it's just more or less the price. I'll put it this way. When I bought mine, circa 12 months ago, these were 15 to 20,000. And now they're under 10 grand. So it's a pretty good time to get involved. I think once the price goes up, they'll definitely go back up for sure.
And that's the same effect we see with many other technologies. As time goes on, it gets easier to manufacture, less resources, and then it just ends up costing less, which I guess in the long term, thinking about Bitcoin, that's great for our hash rate, right? Because if you can produce lots of miners at a low enough cheap price, you may be able to increase total hash rate and secure the network.
Yeah, exactly right. And that's definitely happening now, particularly with, as our conversation last month with more and more remote locations and other countries getting involved, there's more and more security on it. It definitely adds to a little bit more interest into other alternatives other in Bitcoin other than mining. So yeah, it's really positive.
Yeah, awesome. And I remember last month we were touching on like the geographic distribution of miners in Kazakhstan having issues with their regulations at the moment.
Yeah.
But I think that situation is still unfolding there. But but for now, I think we'll move on to the big topic that we're going to talk about today, which is Bitcoin ordinals. So I'm sure everyone, all the audience is aware of ordinals on BTC. So they're not quite NFTs. They are kind of inscriptions on a specific Satoshi. So I first off, I just want to pose the question to you. Are you bullish or bearish on NFTs on Bitcoin? And then we'll talk about the mining aspect of it.
Yeah. I wouldn't say that I'm bearish upon anything to do with Bitcoin or NFTs.
So best place to be.
Yeah, I think my philosophy stands is that if it has utility and it has a use case, then I'm all for it. I'm not really sure. What was it? Someone did what was it they did? They did a
fart. Like I think someone did a fart.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, it was something like that. I was coming up. Thank you for the $2 to $3 in transactional fees.
Yeah. But what are you doing to us, man? Why are you doing this?
I know. But then the other day I saw someone put like their entire family fingerprints on.
Oh.
Which I thought was kind of cool. I said, like, unique. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
So I thought, there's some interesting parts to it.
That does pose issues with security though. And like imagine if someone can then have access to your fingerprint on chain. Well,
and that's the thing. But at that point, I read in the article, do they know whose fingerprint it is?
Yeah, right. I guess
it's sort of a double-edged sword in the sense of like, is there security behind it?
Is still there.
Yeah, it's kind of. I thought it was clever.
Yeah, it's a great use case, right? There is this open protocol, and if you want to use it for something, no one can stop you. That's the beauty of it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks for your input on that. I'm not bearish either. I am bullish on Bitcoin. NFTs, maybe. We'll see. But now let's pivot to the mining aspect. So can you tell us or kind of elaborate the pathway of, let's say I want to go and inscribe a Bitcoin ordinal on there, but from the mining pathway, how is the miner involved in this inscriptions on Bitcoin? Yeah,
so I guess in the sense of where this phase and whatnot goes with ordinals, if it grows, it's extremely bullish for mining. The reason behind that is because each time someone like yourself or I or whoever did the fingerprints or the fart goes and puts an inscription onto a block or a Satoshi, they have to pay a transactional fee.
Yes.
Okay, that transactional fee is stored in the block, and so when the miners mine that block, that reward is distributed between the miners. So it means that your reward goes up. So I think over the past 2 to 3 months, there's been about $600,000 worth of inscriptional value in transactional fees distributed between miners.
Yep.
So at the moment, it's not a huge amount, right? Like we're talking, I think per block, we're talking maybe 0.1 to 0.2 of a Bitcoin, which is still low, but at the same point, we were doing a lot less. So it's a really positive use case in the sense that if we start to see some traction behind this, which a lot of people are saying that we will, just because of the security of the network as well as obviously the anonymity of it, it will really provide a massive step forward to miners getting a higher reward, particularly with lower reward weights, with halvings coming up as well as hash rate increases. That should give miners another perspective and revenue pool to tap into when it comes to mining blocks.
Yeah, because that is the big concern for some of the miners out there for the end stage of Bitcoin. Like when the actual Bitcoin mining becomes so low, we're hoping that the network fees should accommodate some of the miners out there. I think that's the prevailing thought. But we're still a long way until 2145 or whatever time it is. But
exactly, still a long way to go.
Yeah, we can figure it out between now and then. But on the screen here, I have all the some Dune analytics created for digital assets for Bitcoin ordinals analysis here, and you can see it's ordinals have actually generated around about $2 million in fees, if this is accurate, if we're to believe this, and 84,000 Bitcoin, 84 Bitcoin, sorry. And you can see here the ordinals inscriptions it does fluctuate, every day, sure, but the total amount of inscriptions actually is going up and to the right. Yeah. So that's either you could take from that to say that yes, it is still ongoing, or it could be losing steam. We'll have to wait and see. It's too early to say at the moment. But But
It's been around for a month, so it's still early days for sure.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Some narratives can prevail in crypto for a long time, and some things will end after 2 months. So we'll have to wait and see. Right. So
Exactly right.
yeah. So the fees. Let's talk a bit more about the Bitcoin fees. So if I want to inscribe a Bitcoin ordinal, is it I pay a fee every single time, as in, and what's the basis? How much would it actually cost me? What do you think?
So from my understanding, it depends on the size of what you're trying to upload
onto the blockchain. Yeah.
Yeah. So I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's, for example's sake, it's like, $1 per megabyte or something like that from memory. That was how they were doing it.
Yep. I got to find out how
it's
much.
each time you do it.
I got to find out how much a fart in megabytes is if I can upload that.
I was going to say, you're looking at least $2 to $3, surely.
It's worth the novelty by itself. I'm happy with that.
It's definitely worth more than the production value.
All right. So I wonder, do you have any other insights on Bitcoin and ordinals at the moment?
There's not a huge amount going. Like it's still very
too early,
hush in the sense of what is happening and who's doing it. So I do think, like, my personal feelings is that there will be some more traction on that. All it'll take is one person to come out, and like, this is obviously extreme left, but say Visa comes out and says, hey, we're going to do cards on the Bitcoin blockchain, you know what I mean? Like that, all that will blow up, because any company that would partner with Bitcoin is going to have a massive response.
Right.
So it's just about someone understanding that, and yeah, luck of the draw is all I can say.
Yeah, all it takes is one big boy to come in, and all the small boys want to have a part as well.
Exactly right.
It could take a while, but we'll wait and see. We'll see what happens. All right. So we'll move on to the next topic. I want to talk a little bit about Terrawulf. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here so you can see. We have Terrawulf. They recently came out and said they have Terrawulf Nautilus, which is a new Bitcoin mining facility. What's actually a little bit about it is they're using nuclear energy, which is, zero carbon. So I wanted to get your take on this, right? So usually in Bitcoin mining, we use sustainable resources, sustainable energy, such as solar or wind. But in this case, they're using nuclear power. What do you think about this? Is this good, bad?
Yeah, no, very, very jealous. I think is probably the best way to put it. Nuclear power, as much as it's extremely frowned upon, it's very cheap, and it provides constant 24-hour power. So it's quite rare that miners get access to this sort of power. A lot of companies that are using renewable energy are generally going off a curtailment agreement, in the sense that they're using solar or wind for 10, 20 hours a day, and then the rest of it is off grid, which is very common in the US, particularly in Texas. You would have seen it about 2 or 3 months ago when they went through that massive storm just before Christmas, and all the miners got told, you're shutting off, we need the power for heating and whatnot.
As a business, that's terrible. Like I have a quota to meet. I have, these restrictions, and you're telling me I can't do my job now? What?
Yeah, it makes it really hard as well, because like a lot of companies in the hosting area do generally try and, 95% plus uptime. They'd like to stick to quotes, because obviously, if you're a giant corporation and you've put $1 million, 2, 3, 4, 400 million, whatever it is, into it, every minute is money you're losing.
Significant, yeah, exactly.
So you're down for a day, a week, a month. That's hundreds, if not thousands of dollars per hour. So it's something that is really tricky. The US is definitely playing a bit more of a part in the sense of 24-hour power, being that there is more options for nuclear as well as hydro. Terrawulf, it's something that I know they've been working on for quite a while. It's definitely a little bit envious in the sense of their position, but it's pretty cool and exciting for the industry as a whole.
Yeah, right. You can see some of their pictures here. They seem to be serious. Can you glean from? Do you help set up some of the mining machines yourself?
Not myself. I used to back in the day, but now not so much.
So what do you think about these shells that we're looking at here?
Oh, they're pretty special. I'll put it that way. I'd like to see on the inside, though. That's the only thing. But no, they look pretty standard as per usual. You've got to have a fair bit of air movement around them in the sense of the front and the back. The sides, not so much. So that's a pretty nice looking rack. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. And they got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, nearly 9 or 8 levels high. That's pretty good. You can get good verticality in all of these.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the integration when it comes to storing them is pretty impressive. In the sense of what we can do with them. So yeah, definitely.
I've even seen some images like in third world countries where they'll package all of it into one shipping container, and then you just move the entire shipping container from one location to another.
That's actually very, very common.
Yeah.
And the main reason of that is that the infrastructure cost is a lot lower, and it means you can control the air climate a lot easier. So like our hydro containers, they're all containers because they've got to be connected by pipes and whatnot. But when it comes to, say, having an air-cooled container, they generally have exhaust fans on the top that drives out the hot air, and then there's an air conditioning unit in the center of it.
Yeah.
So it means you can control the climate a lot easier. Whereas, say, for example, with this facility here, that would need a very large-scale air supply unit.
That's right.
Definitely doable, but a little bit more.
Yeah, because it's a giant ass warehouse. They'll need a giant unit to cool the entire place. That makes sense.
Yeah, if you go and watch any videos on YouTube of any of the Marathon Digital stuff like that, it's insane. What they do, it's insane.
All right, awesome. Well, yeah. So I'll keep updated on this, because if they can have access to cheap nuclear power, they might be in a better competitive advantage. But that doesn't mean their business sense is any better. We might have cheap electricity, but if they can't run the company well, they can't run the company well. So you always have to weigh it up, right?
When it comes to the big companies like this, it is a bit of a hardball of expansion, and we're in a bear market.
That's right. That's right.
I think they're smart for doing it now. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. And like, speaking of expansion, like these guys have been affected by the previous news in the last week. Marathon Digital terminates their credit facility with crypto banking giant Silvergate. So we're seeing all of these. So I'm guessing, have you heard anything in the crypto mining industries about these guys being affected by the recent news in the last week?
Yeah, only heard rumors. I think from what I heard that they're 100+ mil in the hole. It'll be interesting to see how much that affects their stock price is already plummeting, but whether or not it impacts their ability to operate, my guess would be yes, but it'll be depending on where the reserves sit and how that impacts them. It's a really hard ball game when it comes to large scale facilities like this, and if they're over leveraged and they get caught up with a bank, which I know is ironic in the sense that everyone's like, oh, get out of crypto, don't be in Celsius or that sort of stuff, and it still happens in the traditional finance system anyway. Who's going to help you?
No one. The government is going to stand behind you like Silvergate or SVB and buy up the rest of your debt. No way.
Yeah.
And we'll just read this here. The company sold 650 Bitcoin in February, following a sale of 1.5k Bitcoin in January to pay for operating expenses and general corporate purposes. The stock fell about 1% in line with Bitcoin's decline. So still heavily correlated. So we'll move on to our probably second last topic, if not, and then we'll talk just casually for a while. There was one new great news that came out, actually, or lucky news, however you want to describe it. So there was a miner out there who was lucky to mine a whole block by himself. And have you kept up with this guy? I don't even know who he is.
Yeah,
I know who he is in the Bitcoin mining.
No, I wish I knew who he was. I'd like to know what he did. But no, it's a pretty impressive feat. It doesn't happen very often when it comes to solo mining. That's for sure. I think he was about 6 and a bit petahash. So not a small scale miner. You're looking at 20 to 30 to 50 machines, depending on what the size they were. So pretty impressive in that sense. But yeah, extremely lucky. That usually takes a few months to do a block in that sense for the size of his hash rate. So yeah, pretty impressive, that's for sure.
Yeah. So can you explain for the unenlightened how this actually happens? How one miner or one pool, he's got 6.7 petahashes. How does he be the only one to solve this block and get this reward?
So in the sense, he obviously, when someone's solo mining, they go into a queue in the sense of who gets allocation of blocks. He was obviously big enough and lucky enough that he was able to solo mine. It's generally why you don't see many people solo mining with 1 to 2 miners. Like we don't generally advise solo mining at all, because this is extremely rare.
Your odds are against you.
Yeah. The second or third time I've ever heard of it. So it's very, very rare. So generally what happens is they go into a pool of mining people that get allocated blocks by pure luck in a sense. He would have had to have mined this, I think, for a few days. If the block isn't solved, I believe in the first few weeks. There's others that are allowed to join on and vice and distribution between them. He was lucky enough to do this in 2 or 3 days, I think. So very lucky that the miners were able to figure out the algorithm for it. That's just,
yeah,
I'm jealous.
Got lucky.
Yeah, I'm pretty jealous.
This is on the 270th solo block.
Mm.
So let's talk about the petahashes, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying he's got 6.7 petahash.
Yeah.
This is quite large, is it, for someone who's a solo miner?
So we're going through, obviously, the petahash. He has 6.7.
Yep.
Realistically, I just worked it out off, say, if he had S19 Pro, the 110 versions, he'd be looking around 61 of these.
Right. He's not a
so
small
not
guy.
A small scale miner, no. So, I would say probably he's more likely probably using XPs or something like that. So he'd be, the 40, 50 area. So pretty large scale, in my opinion, for a single miner. But yeah, very impressive to get that in 2 to 3 days.
Yeah, lucky indeed.
Mm.
Oh, look, they said they're from Russia, but they're typically using power of 270 terahashes per second, but rented 5 petahashes per second worth of power last Thursday. Wow. So he just rented some out and then he got lucky enough?
Wow, okay, that's very lucky.
Yeah.
Wow. That's even more surprising.
Yeah, the odds of that happening is even more compounded.
Why can't I have that? Oh God, I wonder what agreement he struck. In 3 days, he's got 150K worth of Bitcoin. That's not bad.
Yeah, and that's at these depressed prices as well. What happens when Bitcoin does actually appreciate?
Exactly right.
Yeah. Well, okay. My friend, unless there's any other Bitcoin mining news, we'll look to end it at the moment. Anything else happening with Imperial Wealth that you guys want to share apart from the US new facility?
Yeah, there's not a huge amount new in the sense bar obviously we're just continuing on. There's new stock coming out all the time. Lots of new miners coming out. Bitmain seems to be in a bit of a frenzy when it comes to releasing new things.
Yeah, there was some news with Bitmain, wasn't there? They had to recall some machines.
Yeah, not recall. They're sort of having to come to terms with the fact that with their XP models, they changed some material inside, and it's conducting a little bit more heat, so it's leading to a little bit more of a higher fail rate.
Yep.
And there was a big article that got put out by a client of theirs, actually, which is kind of ironic.
Ooh.
So there's rumor mills of they're going to change the way they produce them / discontinue. So it's all conjecture at this point. But I would say that if anyone has XPs and they are home mining or they're not at a facility, run them as cool as you can.
Right.
just for sake of trying to keep your fail rate at a low. Just keep their temperature, I would say, operating below the 35-degree area.
Yeah. And I'm not a miner myself, but I can appreciate the importance of keeping your miners at a low enough temperature so that if it fails, you lose that entire miner, right?
Yeah.
So exactly, you lose the capital of that miner and you lose the future profitability of that miner, and impacts your actual bottom line. So that's
100%, yeah.
That's crazy.
Exactly right. So that's the thing. So it's more or less like, I think at the moment when it comes to their failing, it's more or less just a power supply because they're overheating, or fans just because they run crazy.
Yep.
Realistically, when it comes to a miner, the only thing you can't fix is the chips. Burning those out, that's usually a very long-term thing, but at the same point, you never know.
Yep.
So it's always run them as cool as you can just to be safe. If in doubt, have a chat to someone who knows, just so that you make sure that you don't, or was it oblivious can kill you. So just make sure that if you're not sure, you ask.
Yep. Okay.
So feel free to reach out to me if anyone's got
mining
or what they're doing or anything like that. Let me know. I'm always happy to chat.
Yeah, I was going to say, how can people reach you? How do we find you on Twitter? Come to imperialwealth.com.
Yeah, go to the website. You can book a call directly with me. Otherwise, you can just reach out. You can either do Taylor at miningstore.com.au or you can do Taylor at imperialwealth.com. That's easy as. Otherwise, I'm sure Leon will put my number or something on the website. So just reach out if there's anything, if you have questions, you want to talk about it, or if you just want to, say hey. I'm always free to have a chat.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, for everyone, if you're in the collectorship family or if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you go and find out more about Imperial Wealth and Bitcoin mining from these guys. There is a description down below. It has all the information for you. Book a call with Taylor here and find out if mining is for you, and then come be a part of the family. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Perfect.
Taylor,
Also, mention you come from Collective Shift because I'm always happy
yeah,
to chat, and obviously a discount, obviously. So
yeah.
come and have a chat.
Why not? Why not? Thank you very much for that. We really appreciate it.
All good. Thank you for having me on again.
My pleasure, my friend. Okay, we will see you next month when we talk about Bitcoin mining that's happened in March. So until then, we will see you guys later. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe. Thank you very much.
Leon, before you go,
Yeah.
what's your Bitcoin price prediction for next month?
Oh, my Bitcoin price prediction for next month. So I
Might
think
do this
that,
every segment.
I think the Fed funds rate, the Fed interest rate is going to be stable for the next month, or even so not increase by 5 basis points.
So you think at 0.25?
Yeah, 0.25. Well, actually, I like to look at the CME tool, the CME Fed Watch tool. Let's have a look now.
Yeah.
So the market is currently predicting, if it loads the screen for me. I like to use this tool because it's often right.
Oh, it's good. Yeah.
No,
we use it all, don't we? Yeah.
See, it's coming up. 7 days is the next meeting. Oh man, yeah, that's one week for people. So we're currently at current rate is 4.5, and they're saying there will be a 75% chance of staying at 4.75 or go up to 5. So we're looking at a 0.25 interest rate increase. Because of that, I think Bitcoin will suffer a little bit, will go down a little bit, or stay relatively stable, unless we have some more banking failures. We have some more banking failures, then Bitcoin will rally in price. So my price target is between 20 and 25 for March. That's it.
Oh, that's so vague.
That's like saying, I know. Why? What do you think? Give me your number, mate.
I don't know. I've just been hearing a lot of rumbling from JP Morgan about, they're going to pause and not do anything to alleviate stress on the bank. And I think, we've had the second biggest bank in history pretty much go down. I just feel it in my bones. We're going to be lucky. They're going to say, no, we're going to pause, no interest rate rise, and we're going to hit 30 to 32.
Okay. 30 to 32. Okay.
We shall see.
Yeah, we'll see. And that's
Not
Australian. That's Australian dollars or US dollars?
It's US dollars. Sorry,
US. Okay, great. So next month, I'm gonna come to you and we'll see where we're at. I think 20 to 25, and you're 30 at 32.
All right, we shall see.
We shall see.
If it's above 25, I obviously get default. Just so you know.
We didn't make up that rule. We didn't say that.
We shall see.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, my friends, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much for watching, as always. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe. Taylor, my friend, thank you, man.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate the listen. We'll speak soon.
Out.